Good morning, everyone. This is Ben Weisner, your host and presenter. Thank you for joining me for our webinar, Introducing 1 Minute Reader Live. I'm a senior member of the Read Live team, and my job is to educate and support teachers and administrators who are using our programs. This morning, I'm going to provide you with an overview and demonstration of the new 1 Minute Reader Live program, the latest addition to the Read Live platform. 1 Minute Reader Live transforms independent reading time into an exciting guided reading experience. Interesting short passages, motivating graphs, and fun activities will engage students and deliver measurable results. Using the research-based Read Naturally strategy in a fully independent and motivating program, 1 Minute Reader Live helps students develop fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary skills and build confidence as readers. In addition to the live demonstration, I'll be talking about the features and benefits of 1 Minute Reader Live, how 1 Minute Reader Live compares with Read Naturally Live and where it fits within the Read Live platform, how to assign it to students and get them started, and where to find additional resources to support the use of 1 Minute Reader Live. As our time is short and there's much to cover, I may not be able to respond to more than a few questions at the end of our webinar. Hopefully, I will have answered most of your questions during the presentation, but I'll point you to additional resources and I will follow up with you on questions I haven't answered after the webinar ends. I've shared a copy of my slides in the meeting panel on your screen, as well as within the webinar email reminder you received this morning. Many of you have asked about a recording of this webinar. I'll be sending out a follow-up email with links to the recording and the handout with resources in about 24 hours. So look for that in your inbox tomorrow. Feel free to share the recording with anyone at your school or district who you think would benefit from this valuable information. Also, at the end of our session, you'll be asked to provide us with feedback about today's webinar via a very short survey. If you could, please respond to the survey so we can continue to improve the webinar experience for all of you in the future. And finally, if you're having technical difficulties, please contact GoToWebinar support. Their phone number is listed at the bottom of the meeting panel. And now, let's get started. So this past weekend, we released a new addition to the Read Live platform, 1 Minute Reader Live. Currently, Read Live users, Read Live students who have licenses now have access to Read Naturally Live, Word Warm-Ups Live, 1 Minute Reader Live, and Read Naturally Live Espanol, all within your license. This chart talks about or shows which program you should use depending on your students' needs. So for many of you, most of you, Read Naturally Live is the program that you will use with your students. Read Naturally Live has sequenced idioms and phonics series levels appropriate for 1st through 12th grade. It is primarily a fluency intervention that supports vocabulary, comprehension, and phonics. Teacher is required for both the cold timing step and the pass step. Word Warm-Ups Live supports phonics using one-syllable words. It contains a level 1 currently. There are 9 sections and 69 exercises in total, and a teacher is required for the cold timing and the pass step. 1 Minute Reader Live is primarily designed for structured independent reading practice for any student. Teacher is not required to oversee the student working through the program. The levels that are available are E for Easy Reader through 5th grade, and it's suitable for extra practice for a student already working in Read Naturally Live and or Word Warm-Ups Live. And finally, Read Naturally Live Espanol are the sequence series levels 1.0 through 3.5 found in Read Naturally Live, but entirely in Spanish, Spanish content and Spanish instructions and user interface. It does also require a teacher for both the cold timing and the pass step, and it's primarily useful for building native Spanish speakers' fluency in Spanish. Great for dual immersion programs, for example, or English language learners. So what's the difference primarily between Read Naturally Live and 1 Minute Reader Live? The primary difference is that students in 1 Minute Reader Live work without direct teacher involvement. With Read Naturally Live, again, teachers are involved in the cold timing step and the pass activities. They do work mostly independently, but those two steps do require teacher involvement. Another difference is the number of levels. In Read Naturally Live, as I mentioned, you have several different series, sequenced, phonics, and idioms, as well as the Espanol, which currently falls under Read Naturally Live. And with 1 Minute Reader Live, you have E for easy or early reading level through 5th grade level, so 6 levels. And I'll show you how those levels are organized shortly. For Read Naturally Live, any student needing a reading intervention. For 1 Minute Reader Live, any student who would benefit from structured independent reading practice or additional practice for a student who's already also working in Read Naturally Live. So what does a 1 Minute Reader Live provide? Highly effective instruction using the same Read Naturally strategy. We also use high interest nonfiction text just as we do within Read Naturally. The passages and the lessons are different than the ones that you would see in Read Naturally Live, as we'll see. 1 Minute Reader Live also provides support for fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. It does not provide support for phonics. 1 Minute Reader Live is designed for reluctant or young advanced readers. And as I mentioned earlier, students who are also working in Read Naturally Live and would benefit from some extra reading practice, or students ready to exit Read Naturally Live and ready for more independent reading. With 1 Minute Reader Live, you have access to 6 different levels with 4 books per level and 5 nonfiction stories per book. There are interactive glossary words, there's a quick quiz, and a variety of fun activities and a gamified experience for students. This chart, which is in your handout, displays the levels in 1 Minute Reader Live and what the stories consist of. Beginning with early 1st grade reading level, which is the E level, stories consist of a few short, simple sentences with several words repeated, all the way through middle 5th grade reading level with stories with complex text and more advanced concepts. Just as in Read Naturally Live, there's computerized scoring with automated correction of multiple choice questions. The program calculates fluency and quiz scores. Students can earn points for completing different activities. The points are used for motivating students to go further within the program or within the passage. And there's reports as well for teachers to monitor progress. Some of the fun activities include a joke jumble that fills in after students answer questions in the quick quiz, and a Did You Know section that is displayed after a student completes a book, providing them with more interesting facts about the topics that they've just read about. How do we schedule our different Read Live programs? We recommend for Read Naturally Live and Word Warm-Ups Live about 30 minutes per session, preferred 3 to 5 days a week. For Word Warm-Ups Live, depending on what tier they're in, you may provide less amount of time for students. So for tier 1, perhaps a 10-minute warm-up. For tiers 2 and 3, 20 to 30-minute intervention period. For 1 Minute Reader Live, this is pretty much at the students and the teacher's discretion. Students use it for independent reading time, for homework or during summer reading programs. So students can use it as much or as little as they wish. 1 Minute Reader Live, as I mentioned earlier, comes with your Read Live license with no additional cost. All you have to do as a staff member is to log into the staff member module in Read Live and then assign access to students in the student setup screen or in the 1 Minute Reader Live screen. And I will demonstrate that for you when I get into the demo. Placement is optional, and I'll just bring up some screenshots here for you in a moment. But what you're going to do is select a level, do a 1 minute timing, and see if it's a good fit. Students can place themselves, or teachers can place students, or students can bypass placement altogether. When a student first logs into 1 Minute Reader Live, if they have not worked in the program before, a welcome message appears asking them if they'd like to take a placement test. They select which level that they want to begin their test in. They time themselves reading a sample passage from that level for 1 minute. They get a score of words per minute. And then the score is compared to our recommended placement range for that level. If the score falls within that placement range, they can remain in that level or test themselves again. And they would test themselves until there's a good fit. I do want to mention a couple things about placement. Placement, because 1 Minute Reader Live is designed for independent reading practice and not as an intervention, the way Read Naturally Live is, it's not quite as precise as the placement in Read Naturally Live. Students may not need to be placed by reading rate. We suggest that teachers place a student based on the student's estimated reading ability instead. That would cover students who are using 1 Minute Reader Live because they are reading above grade level, as well as students reading at or below grade level. So what I'm going to do now is step out of my PowerPoint presentation and share on my screen, Read Live. And I'm going to log in as a student working in 1 Minute Reader Live. So I'm going to log in with my standard Read Live license, Read Live login, I'm sorry. And if my teachers assign me more than one program in Read Live, as you can see here, I choose which program I begin working on. So I'll click on the 1 Minute Reader Live tile.
Please select a story.
So if I'm already in a book within a level, it takes me right to that book. You can see that I've already completed this story for Carl Lewis. If I click up at the top right, select a book.
Please select a book.
It brings me back to the choices I have for the different books. And as I hover over each book, it provides me with the titles of the stories in that book. You can see that I've already completed the Bugs book. There's a star indicating that I've completed that. On the lower right-hand corner, there is a book summary, short report. And then if I want to reset the book to remove the data from the stories that I've completed, I click on this icon in the lower left-hand corner. I'll return to that a little bit later. But the first thing I'm going to do is click on the Amazing Athletes book.
Please select a story.
And then begin my story about Jackie Mitchell.
Click Start Timing and begin reading. Click on the words you don't know to hear them read to you. Click Finished if you finish reading before the bell sounds.
So if you've used Read Naturally Live, you can see that the screen looks fairly familiar. You can see the progress bar up at the top, the Start Timing button for the cold read, the next button, which does not allow the student to move forward until they've completed the objective for the screen that they're currently on, and audio instructions in English and Spanish in the lower left-hand corner. I'll click Start Timing to begin my timing. And again, remember, students do not require teachers to monitor their cold reads. Just as in Read Naturally Live, students can click on words to hear them spoken aloud.
Professional. League.
And again, this is a 1-minute timing. The yellow bar tracks my cursor. That's the reading guide that you can turn on or off in the upper right-hand corner. Right above the reading guide, you can see a points area. Points are points that students can earn performing different tasks or different objectives within the program. So as we'll see, after I complete my cold timing, I will receive 100 points. So students receive points for answering quiz questions correctly, completing a read-along, reviewing a vocabulary definition, etc. So again, points' primary purpose is to motivate students.
Click on the last word you read when the bell sounded.
To motivate students to complete objectives within the program. That's where that gamification comes in. I'll click on the last word I read.
Click Next to continue.
And you can see the points area has increased to 100. And my cold read score is 45. I'll click Next.
Look at how many words per minute you read.
So there's my cold timing score. And then when I click Next, I'll move to the read along.
Click the blue words to learn what they mean. Or click Start Read Along and read along as the story is read to you.
So the read along, just like in Read Naturally Live, is where students read along with the narrator. There is only one required read along. If we look at the stars beneath the picture, one is in a darker outline, and the others are in lighter outlines. Only one read along is required, but we do want to encourage students to complete at least 3 read alongs. They get points after each read along is completed. They also have access to vocabulary words that they can click on and get points for those as well.
Pitcher. In baseball, the pitcher is the player who throws the ball to the batter.
So I have to listen to the entire vocabulary word before I get points, in this case 50 points. If I click on a vocabulary word,
Minor league. In sports, minor league means having,
and I choose not to listen to the entire definition, I don't get points for that vocabulary word. I'm going to click on Start Read Along. Because I cannot turn off read alongs, we will listen to the entire passage being read aloud. It is an interesting story. If you've ever watched the movie A League of Their Own, it is reminiscent of that. So I'll click on Start Read Along, and this will take about 2 minutes.
In 1931, few girls played sports. They didn't play on teams with men. They surely didn't play on professional teams. Yet that year, a girl joined a men's baseball team. It was a minor league team called the Lookouts. The girl was a pitcher named Jackie Mitchell. She was just 17 years old. Just after Jackie joined the team, the Lookouts had a game. It was an exhibition game. They played the Yankees. Jackie's first batter was Babe Ruth. She struck him out. The fans were surprised. Maybe it was just luck. The next batter was Lou Gehrig. Jackie struck him out, too. The fans were amazed. Jackie had struck out 2 of baseball's best players. Would she be baseball's next star? Sadly, no. Not long after that game, she was forced from the team. The league would not let her play on any of its teams again. Was it to save the men from the shame of being struck out by a young girl? We will never know for sure.
Click Start Read Along to read along again, or click Next to continue.
So I do have the option of doing more read-alongs. Notice that I've added some points to my point tally up at the top right. I'll click Next to move forward because we don't have to do additional read-alongs. I just wanted to give you a feel for that. And again, remember that the point of read-alongs is for students to read aloud along with the narrator.
Click Start Timing and begin reading. Click Finished if you finished the story before the bell sounds.
The read alone is the screen where students continue practicing reading the passage without the support of the narrator. They will have to complete at least one read alone and try to continue to improve their score. When they feel satisfied with their score, they can click Next, and that will be recorded as their final score compared to the cold read, so similar to a hot read. So it's kind of a mix of the practice step and the hot read and Read Naturally Live. I do want to point out something before we go further, and that is that at any time, students can leave this story by clicking on Select a Story.
Please select a story.
And notice that there are two icons in the lower left and right for the Jackie Mitchell story. The one in the lower left will reset the story to go back to the beginning and erase any data. But a student can move between any story, any book, and any level that they want at any time. Again, this is a structured independent reading program. So if they want to start reading about Larry Bird or Tanya Streeter, they can do that before completing the Jackie Mitchell story. But I'm going to return to our story.
Click Start Timing and begin reading. Click Finished if you finished the story before the bell sounds.
So again, the read alone is where students practice, and just as before in the cold timing, they can click on words that they want to practice.
Professional. Lookouts.
And it is always a 1-minute timing. So after 1 minute is over, we'll hear the bell ring. I'll click on the last word read, and that will give us our score. And again, only one read alone is required, but we do want to encourage students to continue practicing and beating their score. And that's why we have those additional yellow demarcated areas for additional scores. It's a visual indicator to encourage students to continue practicing in the read alone step. But I will only be doing it for this one time.
Click on the last word you read when the bell sounded. Click Start Timing to see if you can improve your score, or click Next to save this as your hot timing and continue. Look at how many words per minute you read.
Now, because my hot timing, my final read alone score was a certain number of points or a certain number of words above my cold timing score, my points reward is 500. So depending on how much higher the hot timing is for the cold timing, you would receive fewer points or more points.
Click the best answer for each quiz question. As you answer questions correctly, their letters will fill in the blanks in the joke jumble. Click Show Story to see the story again.
So we're going to measure the students' comprehension with this quick quiz. Students can see the story and the vocabulary by clicking on the Show Story slider. And then students respond by selecting the letter for the answer that they want to select. So as you can see, when I select a letter, it fills in the joke jumble. Some of these letters were filled in from the previous story I completed for this book. If I miss an answer, I don't get points and I move to the next question, but this question will come back so I can re-answer it a little bit later. So this is the question I missed earlier. I'll re-answer it. And I still get points, but not quite as many as answering questions correctly on the first attempt.
Look at your results from this story. Click Next to continue.
So here's a story summary, which I can see on the screen. I'll click Next. I've completed this story.
Look at your results from this book. Click Next to continue.
And then the book summary after I've completed one or more stories shows me how I've progressed through each one, including my points, how I did on the quiz, etc.
Please select a story.
If I want to see my story summary again and print it, I click on this icon in the lower right-hand corner. There's the print button.
Please select a story.
And if
Please
I want
select a
to
book.
print out a book summary, I click on this icon in the lower right.
Please select a story. Please select a book.
So I do want to emphasize again that you can do placement at any time. Clicking on this placement icon when we get up to the top level of the program lets you do
Select a
placement.
level and then click Next to begin testing. Please select a story.
And
Please select a book.
we can also move to any level that we wish. So I'm in level 2 now, but if I want to try my hand at level 3, I can just go to that level. So that's the user interface for the students. I'm going to log out here. And I'm going to log in as a teacher and show you how to assign licenses. So there's 2 ways to assign access to a student who has a Read Live license currently. Under Student Setup, when you go to add a student or when you go to modify a student's record, I'll just select an existing student. In the student's record, you now have an additional checkbox for 1-minute reader access. You just click that checkbox and then that student will be able to begin working in the program. Or you can go to the 1-minute reader live screen and select multiple students and click add 1-minute reader access. And now they can begin using the program. So it's pretty straightforward. There are reports for a 1-minute reader live, some of the reports that we saw earlier. Book summaries and story summaries. You can also print out a level summary for a student. Which shows you all the passages they've completed, all the stories they've completed for a particular level. And then there's also a students at a glance report, just as there is in Read Naturally Live. And this provides you with information that you can use for progress monitoring. Average percentage correct for the quiz, fluency scores, etc. So that's it for the demonstration. I'm going to return to my PowerPoint and wrap us up here. There are a number of resources out on our website. If you go to the Read Live help page, which I will come back to in a moment and show you what to find there, you'll be able to find currently a help video for 1 Minute Reader Live, as well as a link to our user guide. We will be adding additional resources in the coming days and weeks, so please keep checking back there. And before I go there, I do want to answer a couple of questions from our group here. Will there be more books or levels added? We do not have plans to expand the levels available in 1 Minute Reader Live, but we are working on adding additional books to each level in the future. Is 1 Minute Reader Live available in Spanish? No, 1 Minute Reader Live is only available in English. Can you adjust the number of times for the read-along? Currently, you cannot change the number of read-alongs. We do have plans for the future to add some, the ability to modify some of the story options for students, but currently that is not available. Are these different passages than in Read Naturally Live? Yes, this is different content, but again, the strategy and the focus on nonfiction high interest passages remains the same. So let me come back to my screen here and show you the Read Live help screen, Read Live help page on the readnaturally.com website. As I said, there is a working through a story in 1 Minute Reader Live video, which is basically what I just went through. And then there is a 1 Minute Reader Live link to our user guide, with more comprehensive information about using the program. This is the Read Live help page, and you can access it from our website by going to the Read Live menu on the readnaturally.com homepage, and then just selecting Read Live help, and that's where you'll find it. So I'm going to wrap up. We've reached our 30-minute time limit. So thanks to everyone for attending our webinar today. We've got another webinar planned for next week on the new distance learning features update that was released along with the 1 Minute Reader Live program. Registration information is on the Read Naturally website. I'll also include a link to register in my follow-up email to you tomorrow. The email tomorrow will also include links to the recording and resources, so please look for that in your inbox, and feel free to share that recording with anyone at your school or district. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please respond to the survey that will appear on your screen as you exit the webinar, so we can continue to improve this educational experience for all of you in the future. Thanks again, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day.